The average US beachfront home? Around $1.1 million. But what if I told you there are beach towns where the homes cost less than your car, and the neighbors still say hi? You're not supposed to know this, because while everyone's fighting over overpriced condos in Florida, a few sleepy South Carolina towns have stayed under the radar. Charming, cheap, and full of, wait, people live here energy? We're talking shrimping villages with 0 tourists, islands with no traffic lights, and towns where deer outnumber people 10 to 1. No, really. One of these places still doesn't have a Starbucks, and that's not a complaint. You'll get space, quiet, and houses for under $300,000 that aren't falling into the ocean yet. But there's a twist. Some of these towns are cheap for a reason, and one is hiding a dark little detail no one ever mentions. Think you know the best beach towns in the South? Let's find out, because choosing wrong could cost you thousands, or your sanity. And trust me, you're not ready for what's next. Oh, and if you're into avoiding crowds, overpaying, or regretting your 30-year mortgage, hit subscribe. This might just be your escape plan. Let's break it down. Number 5. Edisto Beach. There's a beach town in South Carolina where the average house costs less than a Tesla. The speed limit is more of a suggestion, and you'll drop signal faster than your city friends drop their New Year's resolutions. Welcome to Edisto Beach. Population, tiny. Vibe, Southern Gothic meets saltwater nap. Here, quiet isn't a selling point, it's a way of life. And no, they don't want to be discovered, which is exactly why we're talking about it. The hidden trade-offs. Here's what makes Edisto different. Median home price? About $350,000. For actual, walkable beach property. Crime rate? 61% lower than the national average. Yes, lower. You read that right. Cost of living? 8% under national average. Short-term rentals are limited, so it hasn't been overrun by frat bros with Bluetooth speakers and boat shoes. Job market? Let's say, bring your own job. Unless you're into oyster farming or bait shop management. I came here to unplug. Didn't think that meant literally. Reddit user. He's still trying to reset his router. 2 years later. What you gain and lose living in Edisto means learning to love the quiet. But then, quiet turns into sacred. Nobody's rushing, nobody's honking, and the loudest sound on Sunday? A screen door slamming shut at the diner. Until you need fast Wi-Fi. Then it's a spiritual test. Edisto is the kind of town where you ask for directions and someone says, turn right where the old post office used to be. Half the restaurants are cash only. The other half are open when Miss Carol feels like cooking. And don't ask about the cell service. Your best signal is from gulls flying overhead, which, to be fair, probably tweet better than most influencers. Living here doesn't feel like a vacation. It feels like a correction, like your nervous system finally catching up to your soul. You don't do much in Edisto. You become something else. Slower, softer, realer. But if you need 5G and drive-through lattes, yeah, this town will break you. And if you thought Edisto was off the grid, the next town said no thanks to being bought out, and then fought developers like it was a sport. Stick around, it only gets wilder from here. Number 4. Port Royal. Here's a headline they never printed. Tiny South Carolina town gives a middle finger to developers and survives anyway. But that's exactly what happened in Port Royal, the shrimping village turned comeback story that basically stared capitalism in the face and said, nah, we're good. They tried to sell it, all of it, and the town just didn't. This place is a paradox wrapped in live oak branches. Median home price? Around $285,000. And yes, that's for charming old homes not made of drywall in desperation. Cost of living? About 12% below the national average according to Best Places. Crime rate? Lower than 68% of US neighborhoods. Commute time? Under 15 minutes because, spoiler, there's nowhere to commute to. Vibe check? It feels like someone added salt water to Stars Hollow and forgot to tell the tourists. Port Royal feels like the kind of place Hallmark movies think they're set in. Local forum post, probably written by someone on a front porch with sweet tea and passive-aggressive opinions. What you'll feel living here. You won't get Whole Foods or 24-hour anything, but you'll get community fish fries, neighbors who wave without needing something, and a town that actively chose identity over profit. Until recently, the entire downtown waterfront sat vacant. Developers circled like seagulls at a cookout, but the town? They took the weird route. They didn't sell. Now it's being rebuilt, on local terms, not investor spreadsheets, which means you still have time to get in before it turns into a boutique buzzword. Just don't ruin it, please. Here's the thing, Port Royal is lovely, but it's also got that one stoplight that apparently controls traffic for the entire county. There's exactly exactly one gas station you'll trust, and the hardware store still sells things like nails by the scoop. Oh, and good luck finding Wi-Fi faster than a homing pigeon. Be honest, would you live in a town with one coffee shop if it meant the beach was 5 minutes away and rent didn't feel like a threat? Yes, sign me up. Nope, need my oat milk and chaos. Number 3. McClellanville. You ever visit a town and feel like you just walked into someone's unfinished short story? That's McClellanville. Tiny, salt-stained, suspiciously charming. It's got 600 people, a handful of shrimp boats, and more quiet than your therapist's office after you mention your crypto portfolio. What you think versus what it is. Here's what people expect. Sleepy southern fishing town. Here's what they get. A place so peaceful it makes Edisto look like Vegas. But don't let the slow pace fool you. McClellanville has a pulse. It just prefers not to flex it. Median home price? About $275,000, which in coastal terms is practically the buy one get one special. Crime rate? 74% lower than the national average. The only real threat is boredom or deer on the road. Rent? Roughly $950 per month if you can find someone actually renting. Job market? Bring your own. Seriously, unless you're a commercial shrimper or an artist who sells driftwood sculptures, community? Tighter than the lid on grandma's jelly jar. Newcomers get the look, until they show up to the oyster roast. McClellanville is where time goes when it wants to retire early. A comment I found under a local shrimp festival video, possibly written by the mayor. What you really get. Living here isn't about amenities, it's about absence. No chains, no malls, no TikTok teens doing dances in parking lots. But then, you start to notice what is here. Stories, old trees, porches made for processing generational trauma, and shrimp. So much shrimp. McClellanville is not trying to impress you. Ask for Wi-Fi? You'll be offered sweet tea and a head shake. GPS gets you close. After that, directions involve the house with the dog that used to bark and turn where the storm took the tree. And listen, if you move here and complain there's nothing to do, that's literally the point. Also, fun fact, McClellanville once evacuated its entire population in under 2 hours during Hurricane Hugo. Try doing that in LA. You'll still be waiting on the 405 while the apocalypse is doing a TikTok dance behind you. Remember that Reddit guy from Edisto who lost his router? In McClellanville, we just call that Tuesday. And if McClellanville made quiet feel like a luxury item, the next place? They don't even pretend to care about modern life. You'll see what I mean. And yeah, it gets weirder. Number 2. Pawleys Island. Pawleys Island has one paved road, no traffic lights, and still somehow manages to flex on most beach towns. This place doesn't change, and not because it can't, because it won't. It's one of the oldest seaside resorts in America, but instead of condos and boardwalk pizza, you get century-old beach houses with names like Gray Man's Watch and Grits and Gravy, and the median home price? Around $400,000, depending on the tide and whether Miss Helen's cousin is selling. What's really going on here? You'd think something this beautiful would have been eaten alive by chain hotels and Instagram influencers. But no, Pawleys doesn't allow fast food, high-rises, or noise. Crime rate? In the basically non-existent category. Rent? Good luck. It's mostly owned or passed down, but you can still find off-season deals around $1,200 per month. Cost of living? Only 2% above national average, which is shockingly low for something that looks like a Nicholas Sparks set got lost in time. Job market? Not booming, but it's 30 minutes from Myrtle Beach and 15 from Georgetown. Remote workers thrive here. Shrimpers too. Pawleys is where the pace is slow, the beer is cold, and everyone's car has sand in it year-round. Local Facebook post from a guy named Mike with 0 profile pictures. What happens if you actually live here? You start to unclench. You stop checking your phone. And weirdly, you stop measuring your life in unread emails. This isn't where you go to get ahead. It's where you go when you finally realize you've been running in the wrong direction. But don't mistake quiet for boring. Locals surf at sunrise. Ghost stories are told like oral history, and hurricanes? Treated like uninvited guests who show up once a decade to rearrange the porch furniture. Let's talk about the Gray Man. He's Pawleys' local ghost. Shows up before storms to warn people. Very polite. Cool, right? Except, why are people so casual about a storm ghost? Like, oh yeah, he showed up again. Guess I'll board up the windows. You know what my city ghost does? Haunt parking garages. I want this kind of supernatural behavior. In Pawleys Island, crime is almost 0. In North Charleston, less than 2 hours away, the violent crime rate is nearly double the national average. So yeah, you choose. Quiet beach stroll or dodging bad decisions in a Walmart parking lot. And if Pawleys Island is the beach town that said no thanks to modern chaos, the next town? It makes remote feel like a spiritual challenge. And I mean that in the best way. Number 1. Awendaw. Awendaw isn't just off the radar, it punched the radar and disappeared into the marsh. No big signs, no now open banners. You could live 20 minutes from here and still not know it exists. But here's the plot twist. That might be exactly why you'll want to move tomorrow. What's Awendaw really about? Awendaw is where the forest meets the salt marsh, the population stays under 1,500, and half your neighbors are hawks. It's 30 minutes north of Charleston, but it feels like its own country. A quiet republic ruled by shrimpers, poets, and people who think HOA meetings are a crime against humanity. Median home price? Roughly $285,000. But you can still find land under $100,000 if you squint hard and move fast. Crime rate? Very low, unless you count raccoons stealing your garbage. Job market? Bring your laptop, your art, or your carpentry tools. This town's not built for climbing ladders, it's built for getting off them. Cost of living? Around 7% below the national average. Noise? Only from frogs. Loud ones. Tiny operatic monsters. Awendaw's like Narnia if the closet opened into a fish camp. Local from Reddit who swears he saw a deer walk into the post office once. What it feels like to live here. Here's the truth. Awendaw doesn't have a scene. There's no nightlife, no boutiques, no rush hour. But then you notice something. You're breathing deeper. You're noticing birds. You're going days without opening Instagram, and you like it. Living in Awendaw means loving nature, but nature loves you right back, sometimes aggressively. Mosquitoes here? Olympic athletes. The humidity? Has personality. You'll walk outside and your glasses will fog up so fast you'll think you blacked out. And don't even try to jog in August. That's how people get haunted. Charleston's housing market? Exploding. Median home price over $550,000. Awendaw's? Still under the radar, still under $300,000, and still has dirt roads you can trust more than most city mayors. If you don't like Awendaw, we're okay with that. It's not changing for you. Overheard at the gas station while someone bought bait and a banana in the same transaction. Like this video if you've ever looked at a Zillow listing and thought, I could sell my car and live in that. Subscribe if your version of retirement planning is just escaping the algorithm and growing tomatoes somewhere with no Applebee's in sight. So yeah, Awendaw, the town so low-key, even GPS has trust issues with it. And yet, it might just be the beach town your soul's been texting you about.